Welcome to Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Grajdek. I'm Dr. Martha Grajdek. This podcast examines a wide variety of work-related issues through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology. And while many of the topics discussed here may be seen as intended for white-collar employees and their employers, in reality, the ideas presented here are applicable across organizations and industries. Additionally, many of the topics discussed here may be applicable outside of the workplace. I encourage you to examine what's presented here, apply what makes sense to you, and simply discard the rest. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about the idea of corporate storytelling and how this concept, how this practice shapes employee engagement amongst other things. First things first. What is corporate storytelling? Well, it's not very different from regular storytelling, except it happens in the corporate setting. It incorporates narrative techniques with daily business experiences. Another way of putting it is to say that corporate storytelling applies narrative techniques to daily business practices. Corporate storytelling can be used to convey company values. It can be used to create an emotion or an emotional response. It can be a way of connecting with employees or with customers. Corporate storytelling can appear in many formats. It can look like advertising or marketing. Things such as proposals and presentations can be seen as a form of corporate storytelling. Even sales content or social media content or maybe blog content, all of those things can be seen as corporate storytelling. And all of these different formats can incorporate storytelling as a means of gaining audience, gaining engagement, gaining trust, and reaching whatever the end goal may be. Why is storytelling important in the corporate setting? Well, one of the biggest things is that it resonates with people. It resonates with employees and it resonates with other stakeholders like customers. Why does corporate storytelling resonate with people, whether that's employees, whether that's customers, or any other stakeholders for that matter? The simple answer is that stories and storytelling is part of the human experience. People respond to stories. People connect with stories. Through stories, we convey messages, important lessons to be learned. We share history. Stories make it easier to understand complex ideas. Stories can allow us to connect. Stories have a way of bringing out emotions. In other words, stories are a powerful tool for communicating. Stories have been part of the human experience for as long as we have been around, and that makes it so much more important for us to incorporate stories in the corporate world. What are some of the benefits that we can expect from storytelling, especially when it comes to the corporate setting? First and foremost, storytelling, especially when done skillfully and properly, because after all, storytelling is an art form. Storytelling can improve communications, whether that's communications within the company or with those outside of the company, such as customers or potential customers. Storytelling makes information memorable. When we are told just a string of facts, or maybe if we read some information, strictly data, it's more difficult, or can be more difficult, to remember those things. But when we get that same information in a format of a story of some sort, it becomes more relevant, easier to remember, and easier to understand. It may even make it easier for us to recall and implement or apply this new information to whatever we're doing. It's no surprise that corporate storytelling can increase engagement. And of course, this is just as important within the organization as it is outside of the organization, such as with customers or potential customers. Skillful corporate storytelling can establish a team's morale, and it can increase motivation within the workforce. Good storytelling can distinguish a company's brand. That, of course, can be good for the company's bottom line, but it can also be beneficial for the company's employees. Good storytelling can also help to establish or develop loyalty, both from its employees, but also from its customers. These are just a few ways in which corporate storytelling can be beneficial to an organization, its employees, and those who interact with the company outside of that organization, such as customers. Leadership and management have a unique responsibility and a tremendous opportunity to use storytelling, corporate storytelling, to bring more meaning and alignment into the organization, into the experience that individual employees have within the organization, but also that exists collectively for the workforce as a whole. This can be a powerful and effective tool within the organization. As I mentioned earlier, storytelling is an art. In order to effectively incorporate corporate storytelling into an organization, it's critical that stories be 1, authentic, and 2, relevant. So while storytelling can be a powerful ally to an organization and its leadership, there's a fine line between using storytelling to your benefit, to the organization's benefit, and crossing that line into boring people to death. You may have a perfectly fine story, authentic and relevant, but if you continue to tell that story over and over again to the same audience, there comes a time at which the story is no longer beneficial, but rather becomes boring. It loses its meaning. It's important to remember in settings such as an organization where most of the audience tends to be the same individuals, keeping stories authentic and relevant is not enough. You have to keep them fresh as well. Integrating corporate storytelling into the organization's culture is key. When part of the organization's culture includes storytelling, especially stories that are authentic, relevant, and fresh with the passage of time, storytelling can be tremendously beneficial for both the employee experience, but also for the experience of those outside of the organization, such as customers and clients. As this episode comes to an end, let's review what was discussed. Storytelling has been a part of the human experience for as long as we can remember. Corporate storytelling can be a powerful tool to shape the daily workplace experience for employees, but also to influence how the outside world interacts with and sees an organization. Corporate storytelling is about applying narrative techniques into business practices. Corporate storytelling can look like marketing and advertising, proposals or presentations, social media presence, or even blogs. It's important that corporate storytelling be authentic and relevant and kept fresh with the passage of time. There are many benefits associated with corporate storytelling, including improving communications, making information more memorable, increased motivation and engagement, distinguishing a company's brand, and improving loyalty from both customers and employees. An organization and its leadership have a tremendous opportunity of shaping employee experiences as well as customer experiences. Remember, when done properly, storytelling can be a tremendous tool. As the week unfolds, I encourage you to consider storytelling as it relates to your organization. If you are in a management or a leadership role, you have a tremendous opportunity to incorporate storytelling into the organizational experience. And for those who are in non-management positions within an organization, you too can incorporate storytelling into the workplace experience. The same rules apply. Make your stories authentic and relevant, and be mindful of keeping them fresh through the passage of time. The same storytelling benefits can be associated when storytelling is experienced between colleagues. For those of you who experience this podcast in an audio-only version, I encourage you to check out my YouTube channel, Stress Free with Dr. G, where you can find the video version of the podcast. Once there, check out some of the other videos. They all focus on stress management. Stress Free with Dr. G is found on YouTube, and the link for that is in the description below. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to this podcast. I look forward to seeing you here again next time. Until then, I wish you joy and well-being.